Okay guys, I'm back with another video. This is going to be my top 18 favorite starters, listing off my least favorite starters all the way down to my favorite starter. This is going to be based off of my experience playing the games with each of these starters, as well as the anime from the starters, how their personality is in the anime, as well as, which ones I found most useful in the games, as well as competitive battling, etc., etc. These are my opinions. So if your favorite starter is not mine, oh well, that's just the way it is. Um, so with that being said, let's get started. Okay, number 18 is my least favorite starter, which is the Oshawott line. Okay, the Oshawott line suffers from basically the anime being I don't like how Oshawott is in the anime, and when I played through Unova the first time, I picked Tepic, and then the second time through, I picked Snivy, and I liked those two way better than I did Samurott. Um, it's not that I don't like Samurott; it's just that out of the starters, he's my least favorite. I think the only thing that would probably save him and move him up from being my least favorite starter is if he got a Mega at some point during the series and he became water fighting. I don't know why he's not water fighting. I guess they just didn't want to have two uh, fighting starters in the Unova series, which I would have honestly rather had two fighting starters, but that's just me. Um, so yeah, that's really all. I mean, it's not that I don't like Samurott because he's very useful in competitive battling and he's very good in the games and everything. It's just he's my least favorite. Now we'll get to number 17. Number 17 is the Finnegan line. I was so hyped for Finnegan, being that it was going to be a fire psychic type, it was going to be a mage, a witch, whatever you want to call it. I was so hyped for it. I picked Finnegan through my second playthrough, and I was just so disappointed in how Delphox looked and everything. It was just that's why it's so low, is because I was so hyped for it only to get this. Now, is Delphox good? Sure, Delphox good. Good special attack. Um, put choice specs on it, and it can wreck a lot of things with Psy Shock, Psychic, Flamethrower, Fire Blast, um, Shadow Ball, the whole nine. But it's just I was so hyped for it, and then just disappointed in what I got. Basically, that's really it on Finnegan. Next is the Chikorita line. Chikorita is, in terms of stats and class, it is the worst of the 18 starters. I mean, if you look at the tier it's in, it is in PU. It's not even in NU, it is in PU. That's how bad it is. It is not very good at attacking, and it's basically it's supposed to be a quote unquote wall, but it doesn't even do that well. It's outclassed by other walls like Roserade and tank growth, etc. It's just outclassed in every single way. But I love Chikorita from the anime. Ash's Chikorita, to be specific. I always loved it, and Bailey too. Um, I picked Chikorita through my first playthrough of Silver version, and it is basically the least useful of the Johto starters. It's weak against basically every type in the gyms, so it's not really. I mean, you have to get so many different Pokemon to cover it because it's weak against all of the gyms. You know. even for grass starters. I mean, most of the time, everyone says the grass starter is the best one to pick. And in Meganium's case, he was not. So, that's really why he's so low. Hopefully he gets a Mega and becomes more useful. I'd like for him to get a Mega and become Grass Poison. But hey, that's just me. Anyway, that's really it on Meganium. Next is Typhlosion. Now, something I didn't mention with Meganium is all the Johto starters got their hidden abilities released recently. So all of them have their hidden abilities released. Meganium has Leaf Guard, which is a useless ability. It prevents status elements in the sun. Typhlosion also got a useless ability, being Flash Fire. I mean, basically you can throw it in to counter a fire attack. That's really about it. Typhlosion's main gimmick is that it knows Eruption, which no other fire type starter, I should say, can learn Eruption. It's the only one that knows Eruption. Eruption hits both opponents in double battles and goes off of your HP, so slap a choice specs on it and boom, erupt and basically do as much damage as you can before you die. Is basically how Typhlosion goes. Before it got its hidden ability released, I believe it was like NU. After its hidden ability, it got moved all the way up to RU, which was nice. As far as like Cyndaquil from the game, from the anime, I liked Cyndaquil in the anime, but Ash always seems to have trouble with all of his fire starters. His fire starters seem to follow the same pattern. They're all abandoned, and they all seem to have some type of problem. Well, Cyndaquil's problem is it could never get its flame lit. And then it finally evolved into Quilava after 500 episodes or something like that. It was the longest of one of Ash's Pokemon to evolve. And yeah, Ash should basically have already had a Typhlosion by now. So yeah, but Typhlosion is still pretty good in battle. It's still a pretty decent fire type. Eruption, Flamethrower, Fire Blast, Earthquake, Earth Power, Extrasensory. It learns a lot of good attacks, but it doesn't really have too much coverage besides like Earth Power and Extrasensory and stuff like that. At least I think it learns Extrasensory. I can't remember. If it doesn't learn Extrasensory, I'm probably thinking of Entei at that point. So yeah. But other than that, it's a decent fire starter, I'll say, but it's the worst fire. It's the one of the worst fire starters besides Delphox. So yeah, and Delphox is only a bad fire starter just because I was disappointed in it. Typhlosion's really just a bad fire starter. So yeah, that's really it on Typhlosion. Next is Feraligatr. I really don't like the Johto starters apparently. Basically, again, like I said before, Feraligatr's hidden ability got released too, and he got the best one, which is Sheer Force, which is an attack that negates the secondary effect of an attack but increases the attack power of it. So Waterfall and Ice Punch, their power gets increased. But with Feraligatr used to be all the way down in NU. Well, once his hidden ability Sheer Force got released, they got moved from NU all the way to UU. Well, the thing with Feraligatr is it's outclassed by Swampert in almost every single way, being that with Feraligatr, it needs to be set up with Dragon Dance or Swords Dance first to be effective. Where, yes, Swampert does need the rain to be set up, but Swampert doesn't have to have the rain to be effective, being that it's only weak against one type. Feraligatr's weak against two. And Swampert has so much better defenses than Feraligatr does. as well as good attack. So it's outclassed by Swampert. And I think most people would agree that Feraligatr is outclassed by Swampert. But Feraligatr is still very good. You set up a Dragon Dance or a Swords Dance, and you just go to town with Ice Punch, Waterfall, and just wreck house that way. But being that because of its hidden ability Sheer Force, it got moved all the way from NU all the way up to UU. It is outclassed by a lot of UU mons, including Swampert and Sceptile. You know, Sceptile can one-shot Feraligatr, and it doesn't need the speed boost or anything. It just needs to get on the field. As far as the anime goes, I loved Totodile from the anime. Totodile was always hilarious. One of my favorite Pokemon that Ash has ever caught. I used Totodile in my second playthrough through Silver, and I absolutely loved it. It was very, very useful in my playthrough through Silver. So, yeah, but obviously with Feraligatr, this is the end of the Johto starters on the list. So we'll move on to the next mon on my list. Next is the Teppic line. A lot of people don't like Emboar. I personally like Emboar. I actually do. Emboar is another firefighting starter. A very good physical attacker. Slap a choice band on him and or a life orb and watch him work with Flare Blitz, and I believe his signature move is Heat Crash or Heat Slam or something like that, which basically it's like a heavy slam but for fire types. And then of course Hammer Arm and Super Power as well. So he's very good. I believe he is an RU, I believe, or he's either in UU or RU. UU, he's either in UU or RU, one of the two. So he's pretty good. I don't think he's in U. He might be in U. No, I'm pretty sure he's RU. I can't remember. But he's pretty good to use. You know, I've had no problem using him. He's very useful in the right way and with the right team surrounding him. I used him in my first playthrough through Black and White and Black and White 2, and he was pretty useful. I had no problems using him. So I had no complaints as far as that goes. As far as the anime goes, same basic thing. Tippet got abandoned. Ash found him. What I liked about this one is they ran into the trainer and he battled the trainer, and Teppic evolved into Pignite after seeing Snivy get just completely obliterated. So I mean that was a pretty cool episode in the anime. What I don't like is that how it's stuck at a Pignite and hasn't evolved into an Emboar yet. But I also like I forget the girl's name. That one girl that had an Emboar in the anime. Her Emboar was pretty cool. Like I said, I didn't pay much attention to the anime in Unova because I didn't like how Ash was portrayed in that anime. He was portrayed like an idiot. So yeah, but other than that, you know, I like Emboar. Emboar is pretty useful, but there's just more starters I like better than him, basically. So next. Okay, the next one is Snivy. I used Snivy in my second playthrough through Black and White and Black and White 2. And again, I enjoyed using Snivy as well. I love Snivy's concept in the fact that it's off the fact that snakes used to have arms and legs, and then they shedded their arms and legs and became snakes. I also love Superior's look. being based off of like royalty, and you can see that in its name and in its look. It looks like royalty. So there's that. A lot of people didn't like Snivy in the anime. I thought Snivy was alright in the anime. He acted no different to me than any of the other Pokemon that Ash gets that acts like an asshole. So that really didn't bother me. What I don't like is how it hasn't even evolved into a Servine yet. So yeah. As far as Superior goes in battle, thanks to its ability Contrary, you basically spam Leaf Storm and use other attacks like Dragon Pulse on things that resist grass, etc. What I would like is for them to give Superior a Mega and make it a Grass Dragon type. I don't think we have a Grass Dragon type. I don't think we do anyway. So that'd be cool, especially with Dragon Pulse. You know, it would get. Oh, sorry about that. Especially with Dragon Pulse and Dragon Tail and stuff, it would get same type attack bonus from it. So that'd be something pretty cool. Yeah, other than that, that's really it on Superior. Next is the Piplup line. I really didn't like Piplup in the anime. I didn't really like Piplup in the anime mainly because the main character that owned it was Dawn, and that was really why I didn't like it. However, I loved Berries and Polion because you know it was strong. It managed to hold up against Paul's Electivire real well. So I did like Berries and Polion. Piplup not so much. As far as using Piplup, it was very useful. It's very useful in the games as well as competitive battling. You can use it as a stealth rocker setup. You can use it, put a life orb or a choice spec on it, and just skull, hydro cannon, flash cannon, whatever you want to do with it. It can be used as a fairy killer. The only thing I don't like about it is that it is water steel, so that does give it a lot of weaknesses. For one, it's neutral to fire, so it takes neutral damage from fire types. So that's a problem. Plus, it's susceptible to earthquake, and which is a very common move in the game. And earthquake and flamethrower are two types, being fire and ground, that its water type is strong against, but because of steel type, it's weak against. So that's really Empoleon's only problem, and it really doesn't have the defenses to hold up, or the special defense to hold up to a flamethrower. So yeah, it usually gets one hit KO'd by a flamethrower or an earthquake. And it doesn't have speed because obviously it's a penguin and penguins aren't that fast, so it doesn't have the speed where it can outspeed certain things and hit them with a skull or a hydro cannon to get them out. So really, that's really the only problem with Empoleon in competitive battling. Other than that, it's pretty useful. But there's just other water starters I like better, and other starters I like better than Empoleon. So that's really it. Next is the Turtwig line. Let's start off with Turtwig in the anime. I really didn't like Ash's Turtwig too much, just because of how it was. I mean, for one, everyone knows that Torterra is a physical attacker, and Ash has his freaking Turtwig learn Energy Ball of all attacks. I don't know why. Then again, when that Breloom taught it, I have no idea why Breloom knows Energy Ball either. So yeah. anime logic. But basically, gets his Turtwig. It evolves into a Grotto against Honchkrow, against Paul's Honchkrow, and then from there it evolves into Torterra. Once it evolves into Torterra, it never wins. It lost to Faulkner's Electivire. It lost to Paul's Drapion. It didn't win too many battles once it evolved. Now, Paul's Torterra was badass. I think everyone will agree with that. Paul's Torterra was badass. Paul's Torterra kicked Ash's ass so many times it was not even funny. Now, let's get to Torterra as a Pokemon. I used Torterra in Platinum, my second run, and he was pretty useful. The only thing about him is being grass ground, he's 4 times weak to ice. So pretty much Ice Punch, Ice Fang, Ice Beam, Blizzard takes him out in one hit. So that's really the only thing you have to watch out for with him. Other than that, he's pretty good. I want to say he's in the lower tiers. He's like NU, RU, something like that. Mainly because of his type. But, put a Life Orb on him or a Choice Band and just Earthquake everything. Earthquake. Being a Pokemon that gets same type of type bonus from Earthquake is never a bad thing. So, yeah, that's really it on Torterra. Taking it all the way back to Gen 1. Now, I'm going to say this right now, I will be a little bit biased with the Gen 1 starters because they were the first games I ever played. First games I ever played was Red, Blue, and Yellow version. So I will be biased with these guys. I'm not gonna lie. The thing with Squirtle is he was very useful in the games, especially in the first gym against Brock, and then in the second gym you kind of had to pick up a Pikachu for Misty, but he was useful in the majority of the gyms. And then, with his Mega Evolution, getting the ability Mega Launcher and being able to learn Aura Sphere, Dragon Pulse, Water Pulse, and Dark Pulse, and getting a boost from those attacks, having a wide diversity, he's very useful in competitive battling, being in the UU tier. So he's very useful with that. He's also a very reliable rapid spinner to get rid of those rocks and those spikes. And then, of course, a lot of people use Skull instead of Water Pulse just because of the burn. They'd rather have burn than confusion. And then, of course, you got your classic Hydro Pump and Hydro Cannon and different moves like that. So Blastoise is a very, very good Pokemon in competitive battling as well as in the games. Anyone that's ever played Red, Blue, Yellow, they know that. As far as like the anime goes, Ash has a Squirtle from the Squirtle Squad. We all love Squirtle from the Squirtle Squad, and then we get to see Wartortle from the Wartortle Squad. And really, the only time we ever see Blastoise is Gary's Blastoise, and Gary's Blastoise is an absolute monster. We all love that one-on-one fight between Gary's Blastoise and Ash's Charizard. Epic fight in the anime, and one of the best anime episodes ever. With Blastoise being Gary's strongest Pokemon. Unfortunately, after the first season and Ash battles Gary, we really don't ever see Blastoise. Half the time when we see Gary after that, he's with his Umbreon or his Electivire. We don't really see Blastoise that much after that, which kind of sucks, but So, yeah, that's really it on Blastoise. Next is the Mudkip line. Mudkip is a fan favorite by many people, including me. And up until Gen 6, Swampert is definitely the most useful water starter, being that it's water ground. Its only weakness is grass, so that is very good. The only thing is, as far as like the anime goes, Mudkip suffers for the fact that he was Brock's Pokemon and not Ash's. I think it would have been uh, better if he was one of Ash's Pokemon, you know. But since he was one of Brock's, he didn't get much shine. The farthest in the evolution that he got was a Marsh Top with Brock. And then we see Swampert in a few different anime episodes from different trainers, such as in the Battle Frontier with that one guy who had Swampert and Arcanine. And we see different Swamperts in different episodes. Now, as far as Swampert as a battler goes, um, you can use Swampert as a tank, have him set up stealth rocks and just skull everything, etc. Or you can use his Mega Evolution and Mega Evolve him, set up the rain, and just Waterfall, Ice Punch, Earthquake, everything, and take out everything. Obviously, Swampert is very good in competitive battling, being that it's UU. And it can pretty much wreck through everything and put holes in many different teams, especially its Mega with that attack stat and its defenses and everything, and being that it only has one weakness. So Swampert, um, when I played through Hoenn, he was my third pick because I was such a fan of Trico and Torchic. So he was the third one I went through with, and he was just as useful. I think out of the all the starters in all 6 generations, I think Gen 1 and Gen 3 were the only generations that I went through all 3 starters and I liked every single one of them. Like, I had no problems going through any of the gyms with any of them, period. They were all useful to me. So, yeah. Um, so, yeah. Swampert's definitely one of my favorite Pokemon and definitely one of my favorite starters. Just not my favorite. Next is the Charmander line. Now let's start off with the games. With Charmander, if you picked him as your first choice as a starter, you had a hard time, being that in the first gym you had to go get a Mankey to win, and in the second gym you had to go catch a Pikachu because he wasn't gonna do anything in the first 2 gyms. Um, and he was useful. Really, I mean, he was useful against Erica, but that was really about it. So you had a hard time if you picked Charmander, but the thing was, a lot of people picked Charmander just because of the anime. Now, Charizard has definitely had the most shine out of any starter in the anime ever. He is he evolved into he was the first fire starter that Ash got abandoned. Then Ash picked him, took over as his trainer, and won many battles with him. Then he evolved into Charmeleon, then became an asshole. And then after evolving into a Charizard to fight Aerodactyl, still became an asshole, and then uh, started obeying Ash after that battle with Poliwrath. Uh, as far as like epic battles with Charizard, everyone remembers the one with Magmar. Uh, Everyone remembers the one with Articuno, the one against Brandon, the one against Iris's Dragonite, against Claire's Dragonair, against Gary, being that it beats, if I'm right, it beat 3 of Gary's Pokemon. It beat Golem, it beat Scizor, and it beat Blastoise. So basically, it took out half of Gary's team. if I remember right, Flamethrower on Scizor, Dragon Rage on Golem, and Seismic. I want to say Seismic Toss on Blastoise. So yeah, now getting to its megas. Now we've all seen Charizard, Mega Charizard X in the Mega Special, and everyone loved Charizard Mega X, Mega Charizard X because it became Dragon. But being that it's now Fire Dragon, you know, it's a physical attacker. You have to set up a Dragon Dance now, and then basically spam Dragon Claw and Earthquake and Flare Blitz, which is not too bad, but it also makes him acceptable to Earthquake. But it also takes away that pesky 4 times weakness to Stealth Rocks. Now, Charizard Y is basically, you know, a more powered version of Charizard, a powerful special attacker. Still got that 4 times weakness to Stealth Rocks, but it has Drought, which makes it even more powerful, you know, at least for 5 turns. So both Charizard X and Charizard Y both have their usefulness and both have their weaknesses, which is why Charizard has been in OU forever, and it is dominated. Well, I wouldn't say dominated, but it's been a very good OU mon as both regular Charizard and Charizard X and Y. And plus, it leads to a lot of confusion because when you're battling one, you don't know if you're battling X or if you're battling Y until they Mega Evolve. So it leads to a lot of confusion. But that's really it on Charizard. Definitely, if I was making this list as a kid, Charizard would have probably been number 1. But now that I've gotten older and yada yada yada, he's, you know, he's still in my top 10 favorite starters. He's just not number 1 now. But that's really it on Charizard. Next is Froakie. On my first playthrough of X and Y, I picked Froakie. I did not regret that choice. Froakie is definitely, in my opinion, out of the 3 Kalos starters, he's the best one. Being a Water Dart type with Protein, allowing him to get same type attack bonus from any moves he uses, Dark Pulse, Extra Sensory, Ice Beam, Skull, you know, whatever you want to use. I was so happy in the anime when Ash got a Froakie. I'm like, please let it be a Greninja. And from what I heard, it is going to evolve into a Greninja. And it's going to be Ash's most powerful Kalos Pokemon, thankfully. So, that's good. You know, everyone knows how good Greninja is in competitive battling. It's so good to get banned, even though I don't think it should get banned. Everyone says, well, it doesn't have any counters, yada yada yada, excuses. Greninja runs the same set. Its set is not really that different. It's Skull, Ice Beam, Dark Pulse, Extra Sensory, usually, or Grass Knot. You know, its set is not really that diverse. I'm just saying. But Greninja is definitely one of my favorite starters and my second favorite Kalos starter. So yeah, next is Chess Knight. Now we all know that the Kalos starters are based off of characters you play through as a game. Greninja being a ninja, Delphox being a mage, and Chess Knight obviously being a knight. Chespin surprised me. You know, he surprised me out of all of them. And in my opinion, you know, he is neck and neck with Greninja as far as the best Kalos starter. Being its ability bulletproof, it helps shield it from Sludge Bomb and many different other types of attacks. But specifically Sludge Bomb, being a grass fighting type, a lot of people use it as a wall to set up spikes and with spiky shield and everything like that. Or you can use it as an attacker with bulk up and drain punch Seed Bomb, Hammer Arm, Gyro Ball, etc. So it's really good in competitive battling, being that it's in a UU as well. So it's pretty good. I used Chespin through my second playthrough through Kalos. I didn't really like it at first, and then I reset the game after playing the third time with Finnegan and picked Chespin again. And the second time going through it with Chespin for the second time, I liked him. I liked using him. He was really fun to use. Hammer Arm, Wood Hammer, Spiky Shield, etc. So it was really fun to use him. He is very useful through a lot of the gyms, especially in the first gym. He learned to roll out very early, so it pretty much helped demolish that freaking butterfly. I'm forgetting its name. Whatever that damn butterfly's name is, I'm actually forgetting its name off the top of my head. But basically, once you get past her Skirskit, you just have to roll out all over that little butterfly. And then, he was useful in Clint's gym, which Clint actually gets a Chespin in the anime, which I really didn't like. I'd rather have Ash have a Chespin, and I guess they can't give him all the starters. But really, the only weakness Chestnut suffers from is that Chestnut is 4 times weak to flying, so basically Talonflame swoops in with a Brave Bird and he's dead. So, yeah, that's really his only drawback. So, that's really it on Chestnut. So, next is the Bulbasaur line, and by the way, the butterfly's name was Vivillon. I just remembered its name, it's Vivillon. That was the gym leader's ace, Vivillon. Basically, Bulbasaur in red, blue, yellow, fire red, leaf green, he's the most useful of the starters. He's the one that started off the trend that grass is the most useful starter, because he is the most useful out of all of the starters in every single gym. Basically, really, the only gym you have to really worry about is Blaine's gym, but other than that, that's really it. He's the only starter to start out with dual type being grass poison. Obviously, with its mega, it helped it a lot, being that it got thick fat, so it now is able to take fire attacks and ice attacks a lot better. Plus, being poison, it is a great fairy killer. It's great at taking hits. It's great at dealing damage. Sludge Bomb, Petal Dance, Petal Blizzard, Solar Beam, Frenzy Plant, whatever you want to use. Basically, Ash, of course, gets a Bulbasaur in the anime, and Bulbasaur is definitely one of his best Pokemon. Bulbasaur refuses to evolve into an Ivysaur, which sucked. The only time we really see Venusaur in the anime is from other trainers, from like Spencer and a few other trainers that use him, which kind of sucks, because I really wish Ash would have a Venusaur, a Blastoise, and a Charizard by now. So yeah. But obviously, Venusaur is very useful in competitive battling, being that it's all the way in OU. So it is right up there with Charizard as far as one of the best starters in terms of tiers and everything like that, and it's definitely one of the most popular ones to use. You see Mega Venusaur everywhere on everyone's team in OU. So it's definitely a very, very good, valuable Pokemon to use. Being that really the only way to take it out is with flying type attacks. So yeah, that's really it on Venusaur. Next is Torchic. Okay, As far as Torchic goes in the games, very useful, being firefighting when it involves into combustion. Uh, it's very useful in Norman's gym. In most of the gyms, it's pretty useful, especially if you're playing Ruby version. Now, if you're playing Sapphire version, kind of difficult to handle uh, Team Aqua with a fire type, but still. Um, he is the first starter to be banned to Ubers because of speed boost. Um, so that means, obviously he's pretty good. High attack with speed boost, helping its speed and everything like that. He can pretty much tear through anything with Flare Blitz and Sky Uppercut and a few other different moves. Flare Blitz, Sky Uppercut, Brave Bird, whatever you want to use with him. Overheat, etc., etc. As far as like the anime goes, obviously May gets a Torchic, and I actually remember May's Torchic in the anime. It evolved into Combuskin to fight a bunch of Breloom to protect Corphish, which was really cool. It learned Overheat in a contest against Drew. It evolved, I believe, into Blaziken against Team Rocket. May usually used Combuskin and Blaziken with Squirtle as far as like a water fire type combination. I actually remember most of May's contests, unlike Don's. So yeah, Blaziken is definitely one of my favorite starters, and my second favorite Hoenn starter, and my second favorite firefighting starter. We'll get to who's my favorite firefighting starter next. So, okay, next is the Chimchar line. Okay, basically, as far as competitive battling goes, Chimchar, Infernape's are pretty good, being in UU. With U-turn, close combat, flare blitz, Mach punch, thunder punch, fire punch, etc. Whatever it is you want to use with them, Monferno's pretty good as well in the PU tier as well. Basically, they're based off of monkeys, baboons, etc. As far as Infernape's lore, he's based off of a character from Journey of the West, which was pretty cool, which is the same character that Goku's based off of. In the anime, basically, we see Paul abandon his Chimchar, Ash takes over, Chimchar evolves into Monferno, and then evolves into Infernape. And basically, the whole thing is basically Chimchar trying to get revenge on Paul and beat Paul, and also learning how to control Blaze. He finally learns how to control Blaze against Faulkner in the 8th gym after it activates when Luxray uses Thunder Fang on him and the lights go out and everything. And he basically beats the crap out of Luxray, gets the 8th badge, and then we all see the final showdown between Infernape and Electivire, which was badass. Definitely the most badass parts of the anime. And yeah, that's really it. Obviously, Infernape is my second favorite starter. I bet you all expected him to be my favorite starter, but he is not. I guess y'all can all figure out by process of elimination who my favorite is, but let's get on to the next one. Obviously, by process of elimination, my favorite starter is the Trico line. Trico, Grovyle, and Sceptile. Basically, they're not the best as far as competitive goes. They're in UU, I believe. With Sceptile's Mega Evolution, he becomes a Grass Dragon type. He's immune to Electric, with Lightning Rod and everything. He's basically a mixed attacker with Leaf Blade. His signature move, his used to be signature move, I should say, but he also uses Dragon Pulse, Dragon Claw, Giga Drain, Dragon Tail, Solar Beam, Frenzy Plants, Seed Bomb, etc., etc. So he's pretty good in competitive battling. As far as like the anime goes, I love Ash's Sceptile, basically his strongest Pokemon in Hoenn. First time he catches Trico in its first gym battle, it gets its butt kicked by Makuhita, and then in its second battle, it beats Hariyama. When it evolves into a Grovyle, it goes through many different gym battles, and then eventually it evolves into a Sceptile to protect a Meganium. Gets its heart broken, and then it can't use any of its attacks, and then eventually it learns to use its attacks again to save Ash from Team Rocket. Then it beats Spencer, along with it. It's won many different battles in the for Ash. It beat Darkrai. It was the first of any of Tobias's opponents to beat his Darkrai. Then it loses to Latios, which kind of sucked. But yeah, definitely my favorite starter, one of my favorite Pokemon, and definitely one of my favorite of Ash's Pokemon. And besides Charizard, if Ash gets a Mega, I hope it's Sceptile. So yeah, that's really it. That's the end of this list. See y'all next time.